Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation. I'm Jeff, and today on episode 208, we've got one of the best lineups of independent games so far this year. We also had a nice little indie world last week, but the biggest games shown are coming over the next month or two, and we've still got a lot to cover today. So if you picked up Stitch, the puzzle stitching game with a Sudoku vibe, or Sticky Business, the sticker shop management simulator, let me know what you thought of them down in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to help us grow, and let's go take a look at the 14 new notable Nindies hitting the Nintendo Switch through Sunday, April 28th. Starting on Tuesday the 23rd, let's get this out of the way first. Tales of Kinzara Zhao, with its backing and publishing through EA Originals, is not a traditional indie, but it was developed by Surgent Studios, a small indie team based in London who did most of their work before partnering with EA. Also, I think it looks rad, so we're gonna talk about it. Inspired by real-world encounters with his own grief, lead designer Abu Bakr Salim imagined this beautiful 2.5D Metroidvania with a visual style that's vibrant and original. Unless, of course, you're considering the recently released Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, because they look shockingly similar. Besides that, though, it's the story of a grieving boy who bargains with the god of death to bring back his father. You explore the world, collecting new powers and all that, as you search for 3 powerful deities to defeat in exchange for the God of Death's favor. I'm super stoked about this game, and really look forward to seeing the reviews come out this week. If it ends up being yet another promising and stylish Metroidvania for 2024, you can pick it up for $17.99. And then we jump right into yet another case of an indie gem getting late cycle support from a massive publisher, and again, I'm still gonna talk about it. Edo Chronicle 100 Heroes is the spiritual successor to the Suikoden JRPG series, which dates back to the original PlayStation. The primary shtick behind both titles was that you could recruit a party of up to and including 100 different characters, with many of them having deep backstories that were worth exploring. So I was thrilled when, a few years ago, series creator Yoshitaka Murayama launched a Kickstarter for his revitalized vision for this kind of story. Sadly though, Murayama passed away just a couple months back, making the launch of this new retro-inspired JRPG quite the bittersweet affair. In 2022, a prequel called Edo Chronicle Rising released as a 2D action RPG, and while it is about as mediocre as it gets, I personally had a great time playing through it and look forward to diving back into that world. Early reviews have started coming in and are quite glowing for the final version of this game. If you're a fan of Suikoden or have been following the story of developer Rabbit and Bear Studios as they prepare to kick off work on a sequel, it seems like it's a safe bet to pick this one up. However, I am seeing reports that the visuals received a significant downgrade on the Switch, so you might want to look into that for yourself first. Otherwise, we seem to be getting yet another massive, well-received JRPG. So even though it arrives with a $50 price tag from 505 Games, I think you'll be getting your money's worth. Over the past couple years, we've seen consistent releases of classic Atari properties, with either a visual update or a modern overhaul, and most of them have been surprisingly solid. Even in last week's Indie World, we saw the announcement of a new game based on Yar's Revenge, and just like the complete modernization we saw with that title, this week we get yet another game that received far more production than it probably needed when Lunarlander Beyond launches for $29.99. Developed by Dreams Uncorporated, after seeing their outstanding work on Chris Tales, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this latest release. With a similar 2D space shooter style as the original, you embark on a quest to, of course, save the universe. Throughout 30 missions, you'll tackle objectives like retrieving items or rescuing people, delivering cargo, or defeating waves of enemies. You do so across multiple planets, playing as one of the multiple pilots, each with their own gameplay style. I watched an interview with the producer recently who said the game was actually ready almost a year ago, But when Atari got their hands on it, they realized they had something special and sent the game back to cook a little longer while they added animated cutscenes, voice acting, and a lot more content. And frankly, with that kind of gusto, I've got a pretty good feeling about Lunarlander Beyond. And then, after 3 initial entries and a 4th game which included a year of new daily challenges, our favorite root vegetable with a knack for losing and rescuing his children is stepping into the 3rd dimension as Dadish 3D launches for $14.99. Real talk, gang, this series is so consistently good, I'm gonna stick my neck out there and presume that Thomas K. Young has nailed the transition to 3D and cannot wait to check it out. The worlds look as colorful and as fun as ever, the music sounds great so far, and the dialogue looks just as silly as we've come to expect from the series. This time as a 3D mascot platformer, there are of course little sentient radishes to find, but this game is more about navigating the 50 obstacle-filled levels than it is a collectathon. There's a few bosses to defeat, and apparently a giant criminal hamburger that you can ride like Yoshi. What more could you want? If you've never played a Dadish title, I highly recommend them for people who enjoy quick platforming challenges, and they're constantly on sale for just a couple bucks. But regardless of if you've been along for the ride since the beginning, or are newly interested now that he's, polygonal, Dadish 3D looks like a welcome and fitting evolution for our favorite Radish, who also happens to be a dad. Wednesday the 24th kicks off with a game that's a shining example of how indie developers will go to the ends of the earth to find new ways of building a trifecta. And I'm all here for it. That's because Insurmountable by Bite Rockers Games is a mountain climbing adventure with procedurally generated mountains, roguelike ascension, and RPG climbing elements! What the hell did I just say? Okay, Insurmountable takes the formula we all know and love and places you at the base of one of 3 ever-changing mountains. The adventure will test various skills, and if you've managed to pack the right gear, then you move from climb to climb as if it were a game of Oregon Trail, with each turn getting you further up the mountain while delivering some sort of narrative scenario to build on the progressing story. The gameplay is mostly about making decisions, planning your path, and grabbing the right gear for the challenge. If you fall, the game is over, but you can upgrade your climbers back at camp before setting out to show that mountain who's boss. Published by Daedalic Entertainment for $24.99, the reviews since its PC release in 2021 are mostly in the 70s, but are kinda all over the place within, and it's just too obtuse to recommend taking a chance on. Should this climbing adventure reach a new audience of roguelike climbing enthusiasts who happen to champion the Switch port though, I just might check this one out. It's a cool idea. East Asia Soft's cadence of weekly pixelated platformers continues this week with Ratala, which is a pixelated precision platformer designed by Soluco for $4.99. What you see is what you get here, navigating dozens of maze-like stages where everything wants you dead, and should that fate befall you, you'll respawn instantly to try it again. I guess if you saw Dadish 3D and thought, "Damn you, Thomas K. Young! Real gamers don't platform in 3D!" Well, that'd be a pretty silly thing to get mad about, but that would mean this title is probably more up your alley. But boy oh boy am I excited beyond reason for this week's Big Thursday drop. After being head over heels with their 2020 release of Going Under, which was unfairly overshadowed by a surprise release of Hades, Aggro Crab Games is back with the kind of game that you just know started out as a joke. Or was thought up while high? I don't know. Another Crab's Treasure is built for people who look at the traditional Souls games like Dark Souls, Sekiro, and the like, and think they'd love to try that kind of game, but are either turned off by the over-the-top difficulty or the over-the-top gothic violence. You play as Krill, who leaves his underwater town to explore the polluted ocean in search of his stolen shell and the source of a mysterious infection called the gunk. Everything you find, well, all the trash you find at least, can be used as clothing, armor, or as a weapon, and gunk-infused bosses lead to intense one-on-one battles where victory rewards Krill with a series of new magic abilities to call his own. The default difficulty is set for players already experienced in the genre's more well-known staples, but there is a slew of accessibility options that can help take the edge off. Or just give the crab a freaking gun, and if I'm being honest here, that's the footage that led me to fall in love with what this game is going for. After so much work over the past 4 years, including multiple closed beta tests to solicit player feedback, several features and indie-focused presentations, and working through insane conditions, including having their studio broken into 3 times, I gotta say, mad props to Aggro Crab for delivering what just might be the first Souls game I see through to the end. I'm all over this game and its $30 price tag, but if you're already digging it as much as I am, you might want to pick it up before May 3rd to receive a 10% discount, bringing the price down to $26.99. And I just might be streaming it this week too. And then we've got a few games that are probably only going to be a fit for their niche audiences, so we're going to go through the rest of the Big Thursday drop fairly quickly. Wrath Aeon of Ruin is the latest entry in the genre known as the boomer shooter, and with Kill Pixel Games leveraging Quake's engine, reviews suggest that it delivers that fast-paced retro shooter action, but doesn't quite do enough to set itself apart. It releases for $29.99 and does seem to be a solid pick for folks like me who love this kind of mindless shoot-everything gameplay, but unless you're planning to play through it right away, you might want to wait for a sale. Whisker Waters is the latest entry in the genre known as a fishing RPG, and the latest entry in the genre known as Cats. It's developed by Underbite Games, a small team based in Michigan, and feedback has been quite positive, citing a surprisingly deep fishing system with exploration and progression that takes you to a wide variety of locations. I am a bit surprised to see just how much they had to downgrade the visuals for the Switch, but hopefully that translates to consistently smooth performance. It looks like this one's gonna be a good time, but I would wait for reviews just to confirm the visuals and performance before dropping $24.99. Adventure Bar Story is the latest entry in the genre known as anime restaurant simulators that somehow manage to become fully fledged RPGs. It's developed by Rhydon, or Rydian, who is best known for the Mercenaries Saga series, and is actually a port of a mobile and 3DS game from way back in 2012. You battle monsters to gather resources, go back to the restaurant to make food, serve the food to upgrade your restaurant, and then eat the food to level up. It's a well-made RPG, especially if you're familiar with Rydian or Rhydon's other work. But in terms of recommending it for $20, I'll echo what almost every review I could find said of the original. It's a fun, solid time, as long as you picked it up on sale. The Epics Collection Handheld is the latest entry in the genre known as a collection of games for the Atari Lynx. So, a friend gave me an Atari Lynx back during its short-lived early 90s heyday, and I really loved that system's library. This oddly named collection includes 6 of its best games with manuals, box art, screen filters, and a handy rewind feature, and arrives alongside a perfectly reasonable price of $11.99. California Games is a standout classic. Todd's Adventures in Slime World is one of the highest rated games for the Lynx, and then there's a variety of shooters and shmups which help round out the package. To be clear though, the only people who should care about this are either nostalgic for the Lynx or wants to learn more about what made it special. But I, for one, think it looks like Pixel Games UK did a really nice job with this collection. And then we've got the latest entry in the genre known as games with titles that share an acronym with the phrase out of luck, as SOL, Search of Light, arrives by way of Fire Nut and Trigger the Monster for $19.99. It's some kind of dark fantasy puzzle platformer survival game, and just typing that into the script confused me, but that's what it is. It's aimed at people who appreciate new ways to experience a compelling narrative, and follows a guy who can somehow awaken long deactivated machinery. You'll explore the underground in search of resources that power said machinery, which, combined with resource management and clues hidden throughout the story, will help you reach the top for reasons that are currently unclear but do seem compelling. It really boils down to how the gameplay elements marry together with the story, but if they do stick the landing, this could be a little hidden gem. And then claiming their usual spot on the Friday release list, Ratala brings us Zombies, Aliens, and Guns for $5.99, as well as a demo that's already live on the eShop. It's developed by Nine Ratones, who is among the better teams in Ratala's orbit, and is an isometric twin-stick shooter that can be played alone or in local two-player co-op. With 33 levels, including a few bosses and a couple horde stages, you should expect a relatively quick affair, but at this price, I could see it being a fun game to play through with a friend over an evening or two. And finally this week, we end on Sunday the 28th for some reason. It's weird, but anyways, okay, well, hold on. Story time. Back in the early 2000s, Capcom assembled an internal dream team of developers called Clover Studio. Over just 4 years, they released banger after banger, with Beautiful Joe and its sequel, Okami, and God Hand. After the public made consistently stupid decisions to not buy their games, the team was dissolved. Many of the team leads left to form Platinum Games, which is fitting as I've been playing through and loving the Bayonetta series recently in my free time. However, one of the lead designers, Sawaki Takayasu, whose rap sheet includes Devil May Cry, Steel Battalion, and the aforementioned Okami, left Clover Studio before it shuttered to then lead development at yet another ill-fated studio called Crim Inc. And their only title was 2011's El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron. This week, El Shaddai's HD port is coming to the Switch for $29.99, and I happen to think this game is pretty rad. It's also super weird being based around an Israeli god or something like that I'm sure isn't controversial in the least, but it presents itself as a 3D adventure with platforming that feels like a 2D game and combat that feels more like a 3D arena brawler. The combat is really fun though. It's all based around timing attacks and dodges, with a core mechanic revolving around the ability to steal enemy weapons. Which I just kinda realized is also how you could describe Bayonetta. Though El Shaddai is much simpler in execution, so it'd be like playing Bayonetta on easy mode. Either way, it's super weird that this game is getting an HD port, but it's also cool because I think a lot of people missed it. Its super obtuse storytelling combined with strange gameplay approach is definitely worth checking out if the game otherwise looks interesting to you. Let me know down in the comments if you plan on checking it out, and actually on that note, let's head to the outro. See, I told you it was going to be a big week. I can't wait to pick up another Crab's Treasure, and just might be streaming it, so keep your eyes peeled. But what about you? Gonna climb some mountains? Find some baby radishes? Maybe challenge a god? Let me know down in the comments, or come join us over on Discord to keep the conversation going. It's hard to tell if there's much to be excited for next week, but the fall of Elena Temple certainly looks promising, and there's enough on the way that there's probably another gem we'll find. So be sure to come back next week, citizens, because we're all done for today. Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing Nindie Nation with others. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 208, and remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.